Hello everyone, this is Darcinovia here. This time, to change things up, I'm going to do a review on X-Men 2000. This was released, of course, it's redundant, the year 2000. Directed by Bryan Singer, starring Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart and Holly Berry, and I don't remember every single actor's name, but what do I think of this movie? Well, I think it's held up pretty well. I'm surprised. Because, ever since the Marvel MCU has come out, it's been popular to shit on anything that isn't Marvel Studios. But considering this is like the second movie that was, done, the first being Blade, first Marvel movie. Well, there was others, but were terrible. But I'm going by the modern era of comic book movies. After Batman and Robin nearly killed the genre, and Blade coming out a few years before this, it was uncertain the future of comic book movies. And considering the X-Men is the most popular, Marvel property at the time, what better way to cash in on its popularity than a movie? And when I first saw the trailer, I was excited. The 12-year-old I was at the time. I was like, holy shit, an X-Men movie? This is awesome. Because I was a big fan of X-Men, the animated series. And to see that in live action sounded pretty cool. And when I saw it in theaters, I enjoyed it. Then again, I was a kid. I was 12, but I watch it. Almost 30, I am now. And it's still good. Believe it or not, I've had this DVD for almost 17 years. I haven't upgraded the Blu-ray because it's not necessary, and I don't want to, spend money for that I don't have to. Anyway, the plot of this movie is pretty simple. Magneto needs Rogue to power up his machine so he can turn everyone into mutants. Well, it doesn't work that way, but he doesn't believe that. Considering this is the first in the series, I think this is pretty good, honestly. I think this movie doesn't, get it the credit that it deserves because this movie's success paved the way for Spider-Man and all the other Marvel films to come. Blade may have actually been the first, but X-Men is what really got things started. And Spider-Man, after the comic book genre just took off. Now, the action scenes in this movie, I think, are pretty good, solid. Unlike most superhero movies where the action scenes are full of CG and it's hard to tell what the fuck is happening. It's actually easy to tell what's happening in these fight scenes, but then again, this is back early before The Matrix. It was after The Matrix, but before they abused that fucking technique that The Matrix, fucking installed in movies where we have to have slow mode or fucking CGI all over the fucking place and not have an actual, action scene. This movie actually, it does have some pretty good action scenes. It's not as good as the other movies in the series, but I think for something that came out in the year 2000, I think the special effects hold up pretty well, surprisingly. And even though comic book purists have a problem with some of the casting, like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, because he isn't short, honestly, that doesn't bother me because what matters is the actor who plays the character. Because there could be people that could be in the same height as Wolverine, but they don't have the same acting skill as Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman looks like Wolverine. He looks the part. Honestly, it's just a minor detail that isn't a big deal. Even though he's the main focus of this series, that doesn't bother me either because Wolverine is more marketable than the other X-Men. And yeah, this is long before Disney, got their hands on Marvel. But I felt like this was released at a time where comic book movies were really rare. In my opinion, we were able to appreciate them more than we can now, because now they come out so often that it doesn't really matter anymore if they're good or bad, because there's always another one. This is one of the occasions where comic book movies were rare, and if they were good, that was great. If they were bad, that sucked. And the first X-Men movie, I still enjoyed it. It's one of my favorite comic book movies. Not my top 10 or top 15, but it's one of my favorite comic book movies because I think it's really good. It's underrated. It is, nowhere near as good as as some of the other movies in the series, like X-Men 2, Days of Futures Past, The Wolverine, Logan. But I think it's a pretty good start to what would be considered a okay trilogy. I mean, it's not as good as the next trilogy that came after it, but I'll talk about that later. Anyway, X-Men, the first one, gets 4 out of 5 stars. It's not a bad movie. I think it's pretty good. I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to review the other ones. I have all the movies now, and I can review them. Stay tuned for X-Men 2, which I will review that next time I talk about the X-Men movies. Later.